this is a really wicked Scout Trooper on a speeder bike. This is the same Hasbro range as my Shore Trooper that I previously customized. I didn't know they did Scout Troopers. This is a recent release. You can find this with Rogue One packaging on it. Oh, look at the size of it. It's so cool. Only problem is, this is how he sits on a speeder bike because there is no articulation in the arms or in the knees. And yes, this is the picture they have on the box of how this Scout Trooper is supposed to ride it. These figures have such attention to detail in it. All the different parts of the armour, all the creases in the fabric. It's moulded really, really well. It's just that it happens to be one solid lump of plastic with only slight points of articulation. It even comes with the tiny little Scout blaster, which you can either put in his hand or put in the holster. Even the speeder bike itself is absolutely awesome. I mean, I don't think this bit's meant to be here. I think that's just meant to keep the toy in place. But, I mean, look at it. How cool is that? So this thing is crying out for a bit of modification because I think I can make this look pretty damn cool. So the plan is to make this into a wicked display piece. Given how it's not really great for playing with, because it can't even sit on its speeder bike properly, I'm going to make it into its own thing. So you can get the really expensive but really nice collectibles of Scout Troopers with speeder bikes, you know, statues where the bike's hovering and the Scout's like either leaning on it or riding it. So I want to attempt something like that. So I'm going to make a base for this, and what I kind of want to do is try and give the illusion that the speeder bike is floating. So I want to have the Scout Trooper sort of leaning on it with one foot on the speeder bike and one foot on the ground, and use that foot as an anchor point to keep the bike up in the air. But we just got to figure out how to do this, because the bit that his foot would actually be on the speeder bike is made with a quite flexible plastic. So I think it might have to be something that like gets attached through the main body of the bike. And it's going to be a little bit trickier than doing the Shore Trooper, because we're not going to just do the arms bending, we're going to do the knees, but the knees do have these armour plates on it, so we're going to have to cut around the armour plates, remake a knee joint, fill it all in, and then add the armour plate back on. So it's going to be a little bit more fiddly, but oh damn, I hope this turns out nice. But first things first, I want to do something with this speeder. Now I do want to make a little base for it, so I'm going to do a base about as long as the speeder bike, again out of wood, same as for the Shore Trooper, and sort of cover it in lots of little bits of detail that make it look like it's on the floor of Endor. I was thinking about doing maybe bushes in the back and having that be the anchor point, but I don't want it to look like that there is a really obvious anchor point that is being hidden by shrubbery. So just a nice simple base to show off the speeder and the Scout. So this is the base, all nice and cut out. Sand down all the edges so we've got some sort of like rounded sides to it, because I'm not a fan of having flat edges on the base. I kind of like it to look a little bit more sort of natural, like it's been taken out of like a larger diorama. And I'm going to do the same as I did with the Shore Trooper base that's over in the back there, and use this, which is a textured stone spray paint. It's almost just like a spray glue, that's what it smells like anyway. And it's got like this textured pattern, you can see the little piece on the lid there. So it'll stop this being a completely flat bit of wood and just give a nice little base to start building up what's going to look like a forest floor. And again, see, this isn't the colour that it's going to be, it's just sort of the consistency I was looking at. So the base is now dry, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint this all in. I've got a bunch of different coloured acrylic paints for grass and mud colours, as well as some decorative sort of scenery stuff, which is to make it look a little bit more like grass. So I've got brown and I've got green, and I picked up one of these things. This is actually fake plant stuff to use in fish tanks, but I thought sort of the little bits here looked like leaves off of a redwood tree, which you would find on Endor because of where they actually filmed it, and I can use little bits like this for blades of grass. And if I'm lucky, I might be able to break up some of the rocks that are in that resin base and use it dotted around this. So just going to try and build it up and make it look a little bit like a forest floor.
So this is now the, I think, complete base for the Scout Trooper, unless I decide to add anything else. I've gone back over it with a little bit more scenic soil just to even out the colours a little bit. If I give you a close-up here, you can sort of see the different bits that I've used. So I cut up the leaves on that little piece of aquarium decoration into thinner and shorter strips to make these little blades of grass, and they've just been hot glued in place. And I've also hot glued a couple of little rocks around here and there. And just down here you can see the little bits of the plant leaves that I painted and cut up, and I've sort of mixed that in with PVA glue just to put on the ground here to make it look like redwood tree leaves on the floor. Just a nice little detail, and I've added a little bit more scenic soil mixed with PVA just to add more lumps on the ground so it's less flat. And overall, that's what we get, which looks quite good. I'm quite pleased with sort of the little piles of leaves. It's just a little detail that I thought would work quite well.
So now it's time to actually pose the Scout Trooper, so I'm going to cut his elbows just through the middle that separates these two bits of armour. And I'm going to try and cut around this back knee plate as evenly as I can. Might be a case of cutting the leg off at the boot and then above the knee and filling in the rest. All the joints have been glued in position using the wire just to help get them in the right place and just reinforce it a little bit. I'm going to go in with some Milliput in all the joints and re-sculpt a bunch of parts here. So it needs new elbow, new knee, and I'm going to go in these gaps in the legs as well just to make it look a little bit better. And then I'll let the Milliput harden a little bit, and then I'll go back in and add some more details just so it sort of matches the texture that is already in the sculpt of the plastic. And once it dries, it'll be ready for paint. The Milliput on the Scout is now dry, so I'm gonna start the first bit of painting. But there's a lot of sort of intricate details on the helmet. So I'm actually gonna take this helmet up before I spray paint it. And this helmet doesn't have like the rubbery one like the Shore Troop has, so this one shouldn't react to the paint. But just to save having to hand paint all these tiny little details on, I'm gonna tape that up. And I'm also gonna tape up this little bit around the midriff here, because that's supposed to be a cloth piece of the costume. So when I paint this in a gloss, I don't want this to be gloss white as well. I want it to be a more dull colour just to sort of give the illusion that that's the fabric parts. So I'm going to hit it with some primer before doing a gloss white. Glue the metal rod in place inside of the holster. So that should be nice and sturdy. And now I'm going to go over all the areas that need to be black on the Scout Trooper with some of this Painter's Touch black.
with the weathering finished on the Scout Trooper, he looks a little bit more battle worn now, and there's some mud in the bottom of his shoes. I've now just got to finish the speeder bike. All the primer has dried, so I'm just going to go over certain parts with a brown spray paint. So that's going to be like the details at the front and obviously all the bits around here. And the rest I'm actually going to hand paint in the sort of dark black metallic details. Then all that will be left to do is fix the Scout Trooper to the speeder bike and then fix the Scout Trooper to the ground, and we should have a really cool looking Endor diorama. The new paint job for the speeder is complete. Found a really nice metallic brown spray paint in my paint box, so I used that for the main body of the speeder. And painted on a sort of dark metallic gunmetal, mixing a little bit of silver, sort of metallic and black painter's touch. This stuff is really nice to use. A little bit of sort of silver like paint scuffs again, just with the metallic painter's touch. And went over it with a watered down black acrylic paint just to give it a dark wash and get in all the little grooves here. Just painted the saddlebag with acrylic paint as well, and again gone over that with a wash. And just put acrylic on the red button, and there's tiny sort of red details just on the front here which you can't quite see. But they're there. So now the speeder is complete, the Scout is complete, and the base is complete. We've now got to put them together. So I've cut off another piece of metal, just a short bit here. This is actually going to go in the Scout Trooper's foot, but it's not wide enough to sort of snugly fit in there. But if I push it back at an angle, it fits in the foot like that, so it sort of sticks forward. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the base, figure out exactly where I want him to stand, and then drill a hole at a slight angle in there that will fit this, so we can slide him in and glue him into place, and it will just help keep him upright a bit more. So with a fair bit of super glue, it is complete, and the speeder bike is entirely hovering off the ground. Speeder looks so much better painted in metallic paints. Actually looks like something that's made out of metal. The dirt in the grooves, all the nice little chipped paint highlights. Scout Trooper's got a nice dirty wash over him, making him look like he's been patrolling through the forest for quite a while. There's a little bit of mud down on the bottom of the shoes. And I'm quite pleased with the detail that's come out on the base. It looks really, really nice. All the little redwood leaves on the floor, little bits of rock, some random sort of sprouting bits of tall grass, dirt. I'm just really pleased with how this has come out. This looks damn nice. So I hope you enjoyed this toy modification. If I find any more figures that are interesting like this one to do, then I will do them, because I do quite like these smaller scale ones. But until next time, may the Force be with you.